Good morning, everyone. I'm doing something different today. Today, I'm interviewing my really long-suffering friend, Annie, sitting next to me here. And Annie has put up with my shenanigans for many, many years. This is Annie. So when I was first learning how to do lymphatic drainage in 2005, Annie let me play and learn on her because she had breast cancer at that stage and had lymphoedema. So she's been my greatest learning tool, because every time I learn something new, she's the first person who gets it. Whether it's when I went back and studied fodder training, or when I found out about morbidum and she walked through the door and wasn't allowed in until she handed me her arm and I wrapped her up, and then she came and let me video her. She's been very tolerant of me. So, and she's still my friend. It's great. So what I thought is, I'm going to put Annie on the spot because she's just had this year another diagnosis after 16 years. So I wanted to talk to her about all the different things that she's done, how she feels. So I've prepared some questions for her that she's had a look at. She's got them written down because she's got chemo brain. So that's just in case she forgets what she, Anyway, so we're seeing how this goes.
Excellent.
Okay, so first up, how did it feel getting a second diagnosis after 16 years?
Well, initially it was shock, and once the shock passed, the determination set in and the organisation set in. I reenacted my team that I had loads of confidence in, you being one. My oncologist, my GP, I got a new breast surgeon. The diagnosis was HR2. It was in a lymph node under my left arm. My earlier cancer had been in my right breast, and after weeks and pathology results, they discovered it was actually a whole new cancer and it had nothing to do with what had taken place 17 years ago. Second time round, there's a comfort in knowing what's ahead. You kind of just get on the medical treadmill and do what they tell you to do, and you be guided by them. And if you have faith in your team, then that makes a world of difference. So shock initially. Haven't really been angry, interestingly enough. Frustrated, lots of emotions, but not angry. It's just happened and it's unfortunate. Don't really like using the word bad luck, although it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now I was diagnosed in May. We're now in November. I've had surgery. I've had chemo, lots of it. Had the chemo first, then the surgery. Initially, they were going to do the surgery, then the chemo. But what are we? So 6 months in, I'm doing okay.
Fantastic. So what's different this time?
It's totally different the second time round. In 17 years, they've had lots of advancements. Last time round, I had chemo and they told me to go home, go to bed, sleep it off for 3 days. Drink lots of water and just let it get through your system. This time round, on the first doctor's appointment, she recommended a place called Cancer Fit at St Leonard's, which is it's a gym with oncologists, exercise physiologists, dietitians, all the equipment that you need. They take your blood pressure every day when you arrive and when you leave. And so you're monitored, and because they're in the cancer field, they know the exercises that are appropriate for your diagnosis. So that was a bit overwhelming because I just remember going to bed for a week and I thought there's no way I can do that, but it made a total difference to my well-being, my core strength. So going into surgery, I was so much fitter than probably ever been, ironically, even though I had cancer.
Great. And what about the types of chemo?
The types of chemo, the side effects have come a long way. The nausea and vomiting of years ago, they've really advanced with the nausea medications that they give you beforehand, so I didn't experience any of that. Some other pretty horrible side effects, mouth ulcers and aches and pains in the legs, but I found I have a treadmill at home, and if I got on the treadmill, the aches and pains lessened. And thanks to you, my wonderful MediRent machine, putting that on my legs has helped enormously with those aches and pains and circulation in general.
So the MediRent is a pump. So Annie got that in place early on, so that was part of her recovery process. And she's still using that regularly, right?
Hot flashes is one of the wonderful side effects. Appropriately timed.
I'm used to sort of shirts on, hats off. It's just, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I might have to share my stylish do with you all. Okay, that's gone. Let's move on.
Okay, so how's the radiation process different this time around as well?
Far more targeted. Years ago, they made a hard mould, gave you a couple of tattoos, and you lay there and they zapped you and off you went. Now they have this wonderful stuff called Mepitel. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a sheer glad wrap that they put on, and it protects the skin, acts as a barrier. It stops things from rubbing on the skin, which is quite often the irritation where the radiation has happened is what causes the burns. And the way they make the mould now is like out of a beanbag substance, where you lie on it and they suck the air out of it and they mould it to your breasts and your back. And so it's come a long way, and they target it. So they give you the radiation under a scan, whereas before they kind of just went, yeah, we think we're going to go there, and did it that way. So yeah, in the last 5 years, that's come a long way.
Great. And things like breast care nurses, did you have that first time round?
No, there was no such thing. The wonderful McGrath breast care nurses, I've met a few of them at Northern Beaches Hospital, Marta and North Shore, and they're amazing. So that's where my cancer donations are going to go to in future, because they make the world of difference. They certainly put your mind at ease, give you these wonderful pillows to put between your arm and your breast when you've had surgery, and they've been wonderful.
No, that's great. I hear fantastic things about them. Okay, so what did you do to prepare before each stage and in between? So like before you started chemo, before your surgery, I know you did the exercise program. What else?
I went to visit you.
Yeah.
I went and had lots of lymphedema massage and laser treatment. I made sure that I walked probably 4 times a week, probably for at least half an hour. Outside of the gym, they recommended that you walk 5 times a week, but I probably really only managed 4. Lots of juices, lots of fruit and veggies, healthy eating. So aside from having a cancer diagnosis, I'm probably fitter than I've been in a long time, which sounds ironic.
Nothing like a diagnosis to get you targeted on message. Yep. Need to make some changes.
And recentered.
Yeah. Okay.
Lots of meditation too. I find it really important to centre and come back to remembering to breathe. And actually that's another thing that's really interesting with the radiotherapy. I control the machine with my breathing. So they actually have you take a deep breath in, and the radiation happens while you're holding that breath in. So if you can't hold your breath and you exhale, the machine stops. And when you inhale again, it starts again.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, quite amazing.
And I'd say that we had a session where Annie and I did a whole bunch of breathing.
Yeah.
She said, I've forgotten how to breathe. So I came and we sat and we did sort of, putting hands in different places so that she could feel to bring the breath down into the belly and just remember, because we forget, and particularly when we're stressed and out of our comfort zone, we forget how to breathe. So that's something that we actually did spend some time doing.
And there's lots of different ways to breathe,
which
people don't realise,
Absolutely. Okay, so let's see. What other treatment do you have coming up? Do you know?
I've got an ongoing targeted chemotherapy for 12 months, every three weeks. I'll have that intravenously via my portacath. And hopefully that'll only be for a year. But I think with all cancer, you need to learn to live with a cancer diagnosis, like diabetes, heart disease, whatever. And if they change that in 12 months to say you need to have it for 2 years or 3 years, then that's what I'll do. So be guided by the professionals. Make sure you really have faith in your team. Yeah. Stick by the ones you love the most.
And has a really good support team. She's got wonderful people in her life who are really taking great care of her.
yeah, I'm very blessed aside from this.
Yeah. So what's been the most surprising thing?
I'm much stronger than I realised.
Mm.
You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Ridiculous pun, but in my case, it's really worked. You know, I'm determined to beat this. I have a lot to live for. I'm only 52. I was 35 when I was first diagnosed. So if, 8 months of treatment can give me 30 years, then every bit of it's worth it, because I'd like to grow old and have grandchildren. And I didn't realise how much until this sort of came along, how much I really want to be here. First time round, I always said if I ever got another diagnosis, I wouldn't do anything. Well, I've proved myself really wrong.
And that just goes to prove you don't know until you're there. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so what would you say to someone who's just had a diagnosis?
Now that one I might have to refer to my notes. Who am I? Be happy with your team. Join Cancer Fit. Be a gatherer of lots of information. Information is really powerful. It can be scary, particularly if it's your first time diagnosed. For me, all that old information came back to the forefront of my mind, but a lot of it was wrong, because time had changed and processes had changed. But sort through all that info and work out what works for you. Take on what works for you. Listen to what other people do, give it a try, and if it doesn't work, throw it out. But if it works, stick with it. But a positive attitude is definitely the way to go, because the sun will rise tomorrow and we'll all keep breathing.
And what are you going to do to celebrate?
A cruise. If not a cruise, then the Maldives, when I can lie in the sun and get rays of a different kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a bit of vitamin D and lots and lots of walking. Love walking.
Fantastic.
Lots of sunrises and sunsets in my future. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much. This is fun. Oh.
Cheers.